All right.
Okay, Rabbi,
Yes.
I have to tell you that if the phone rings and it's Optimum, I have to leave right away. I'm sorry.
Not to worry. Not
Just
to worry.
understand, okay? I
Not to
just
worry. I
want
won't be
to
insulted.
preface this.
No worries.
And same with me, Rabbi. I'm
Oh,
expecting a call, so please don't
Not.
be quote
if the phone
insulted.
doesn't ring, I'm good. But if the phone rings and they tell me Optimum is there, I have to go over
Yes.
there.
Joy and Lynn, do you know me
Thank
as
you.
someone that's easily insulted?
I
You're gonna have to
not
try.
at all.
You're going to have to.
You're very aware of the other problems in life that we have to
My
deal
life
with.
my life is not my own right now.
You're very, it's a big
Okay.
it's a big tribute to to your goodness. So not to worry, you're gonna have to try a drop harder if you want me to be insulted. We could find a way.
I just hope the phone doesn't ring,
No
really.
worries, no worries.
Okay.
And so we hit record. So anyone that's listening, for the people that missed it, if they want, we could send them a copy, a recording. Today is July 6th. Is that correct? July 6th?
Yes.
And it's a Tuesday, like always, and we're studying the book of Joshua. And we're at a very pivotal moment in the story of Joshua. It's chapter 18, and 18 is already a good number. It's Chai, all right, life. And so 18 is already a good number. And we'll dedicate our study of the book of Joshua for those who lost their lives in Surfside, and in
Yes.
prayers that the families who are still searching for their loved ones should
Yes.
have, at the very least, the closure that they need. And
Yes.
we'll dedicate it to them. All right, here we go. So we've been talking a lot. We spoke about how the Jews crossed the Jordan River, how Joshua has his first foray into leadership, into battle. There was a circumcision, if you might recall, and a big Paschal offering. And there were ups and downs and triumphs and losses, and a troublemaker or two along the way. And then we read about in the last few weeks how some of the tribes settled the land. They divvied up. They went to battle. We talked about the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of, let's see if I can remember, the tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim. Very good, Joy.
Joy has a good memory.
Joy is a scholar.
Only for maybe 2 weeks back.
And what else was there? So we had a bunch of tribes that got settled. We spent some time on maps, playing around, messing around, going between Google Earth and some older maps that we had. And the entire Israel is not settled, but yet we're at an important moment. What would you say when the Jews were in the desert was the center of the Jewish community? Not a person, but a structure.
The ark.
The ark, the temple.
Oh, the temple that housed
Yeah.
the ark. The word that we used for the temple was the tabernacle.
The tabernacle.
Or another word, the tent of meeting. Right? Constantly Moses is there communicating with God, and God's presence is there. And whenever there's drama in the desert, whenever there's a good story or a bad story, it always happens in proximity to the tent of meeting. That is the tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Jews, at long last, after many years of battle and fighting and with their enemies and settling the land and divvying up the land and kvetching along the way, because that's the Jewish way, apparently. Well, now they're ready to turn the page of it. Let's see what happens.
But wait a second, can I just ask one little question?
Certainly.
While all this was going on, where was the tabernacle?
So the tabernacle, to my knowledge, apparently was at Gilgal, which is that first encampment. That was like the capital of the interim. That was the interim seat of the Jewish government.
That's where it was. Okay.
And so now Israel, you know what? I'm going to open Google Maps again, and you're going to bear with me. Or should we do Google Earth? Let's do Google Earth. Let's see if we can open up. Explore Google Earth. It'll take a minute to load, but I want to see where, because we're going to talk about Shiloh or Shiloh.
And it was Gilgad, G-I-L.
It was actually Gilgal, so it ends with an L. Gilgal.
Okay, Gilgal. Okay.
So here's
our Earth. Gilgal.
Yes. So here's our Earth. That's South America. That's North America. There's Florida somewhere in there. But we don't want to be in Florida. We got to travel across the sea across the Atlantic, across the Mediterranean, and we're gonna come right in here to the land of Israel. There we are. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Zooming in, and we can actually see here is the Dead Sea
Mm-hmm.
and the Jordan River, and here is Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where they started out. And we're going to make a Google search, and we're going to look for Shiloh or Shiloh. Shiloh is a complicated city presently. Boom. Don't you love how that goes?
It's amazing,
It's
really
a little
is.
dizzying, but we really get a beautiful view of Shiloh. Shiloh or Shiloh, depending on how you pronounce it. In Hebrew, it's Shiloh. Oh, it's going to keep on spinning? That's interesting. So from Wikipedia, hold on. Shiloh was an ancient city in what is referred to sometimes as Samaria. It's mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, in the Torah. And so I want to show you, this is modern day Shiloh. If you see, it's on a cluster of hills. But then there's what's called Tel Shiloh, which is the archaeological site of what many believe is the original Shiloh. So let's zoom in over here. There's not much to see. And I don't know how to make us turn around. Let's see. There's a way to spin.
Shiloh today is where? You said near, does it have is it the same name today?
Yes. But I don't know what just happened to our screen. Let me refresh it. Okay, we're gonna have to do this again. Shiloh is a modern day settlement. I don't know, settlements, town. Oh, here we are. Let's zoom out a bit.
Settlement where?
In the area referred to as the West Bank, or Judea and Samaria.
The West Bank. Okay.
Yes. Which really means that it's west of the Jordan River and towards the east-ish of Israel. Now, again, I don't know how to make this spin so we can get a different perspective, but this is the coast. And Joy, you can see the screen now, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Good. Good. So this is the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we're like upside down from the typical way that we would view the map. Here is the coast. Here's the Mediterranean. Here is the Dead Sea. Here is the Jordan River. Here is Jericho. Again, if I had my way, I would spin this around. And we were focusing on Shiloh, or Shiloh, which is right over here, where my cursor is.
Mm-hmm.
Shiloh is, I believe this will be south of Jerusalem, in the area known as the Judean Hills. If you can see, it's a hilly kind of region. And it is surrounded by Jewish and Arab Palestinian towns. So for example, here is Shiloh again. Here's Malay Ephraim, which is a Jewish settlement. But then you have a bunch of Arab settlements around here. Asiwa. But then you also have, not far from here, Bet El, which again, I think, which is an ancient Jewish city as well. And we also have Jerusalem, not all that far away from where we are. But there you have Shiloh. Now I want to show you something else, but I got to zoom out a little bit more. Remember how they had to cross the Jordan River?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the Jordan River.
The Jordan River looks very thin. How wide is the Jordan River?
It's thinner.
Very, very thin.
It's
I was
thinner
there.
and wider at different locations. Today it's pretty thin. But what I want to suggest is that if you look at the map, you can see that the Jordan River was once a much more robust river than it is today, because you see those river banks.
Mm-hmm.
And you can imagine that it might have been once a much more vibrant
But
town.
when they crossed that river, did they do it on foot or did they do it on horseback? Or
So they passed the river by foot. And the Bible describes how the Jordan kind of split. Now, the truth is, we were looking at some pictures, and today it doesn't appear all that crazy to be able to wade through the Jordan River at certain points. And so that's part of the reason why I'm sharing that. Apparently, it was once a more formidable river than it is today. I don't know exactly why that is. I can tell you there's a lot of use of that water, and the region is a very busy region, and we drink. People, subsist from drinking the water of the Jordan. But what I really wanted to show you is not so much the Jordan. And by the way, this is the area that we would call the Kingdom of Jordan. What I wanted to show you is that right up across over here, can you read that word over there?
Not really.
That word says Gilgal.
Gilgal. Oh, right. I
Gilgal.
see. it now.
So
Yeah.
we could imagine that the Jewish people basically crossed the river. They found the place that looked right for them to settle. And that is Gilgal. That's where they settled first. Then, after settling Gilgal, eventually they take on Jericho. And that's where the story begins to unfold. Which brings me to my next point. Here is Gilgal. Shiloh is right over here. So they had to cut through this hilly region. And Shiloh is where we're talking about now. And Shiloh becomes the seat of the tabernacle, the site, the center of Jewish spiritual life for the next several hundred years.
So they bring the tabernacle there?
They bring the tabernacle there, and they end up building a little bit more of a permanent structure while using the covering and some of the materials and the items of the original tabernacle that they had in the desert. The tabernacle remains in Shiloh for, you want to hear how long? 369 years. So for 369 years, Shiloh or Shiloh is the center of Jewish spiritual life. Now, if we look here, it might have not been a very impressive metropolis. It may have not been a very impressive city, although it's reasonable that it might have been bigger than the restricted archaeological digs today. Let's see if my screen will allow us to focus a little more.
Glenda left a message.
Glenda said that she couldn't make it.
Yeah. She says too much going on here. I hope everything's okay there.
Yeah, I have to go. I have to pay her a visit, and
What?
I have to pay her a visit.
Is everything okay?
I think she's okay. I think it's overwhelming. I think there's a lot of, stuff.
Her husband has not been well.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What's
Well, had some sort of operation, and they hurt a nerve apparently, and his leg is affected. So I think that's the problem. That's what she's dealing with, Bob.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Well, he's alive, so that's good news.
So what was the operation? Do you know?
I don't
Okay.
know. I
Oh.
just know that, she had to be absent.
Okay. Go ahead, Rabbi. Go ahead.
I know. So I just wanted to take a peek at Tel Shiloh, and I know we're going a little bit off on a tangent, but let's see. There's some photographs. Let's see if they'll show us. Oh.
Well, why did they choose that site? I mean, was there any particular reason why they chose that site to build the tabernacle?
I'm not certain. Possibly it was a little more secure. Possibly it would be a little more central. But possibly there was already a settlement there that just was right for the people of it, for the Jewish people. But again, this was not necessarily the major center of the Jewish political life. We'll find out there's another site that becomes very central for Jewish political life called the Mitzpah, which is a certain fortress that becomes very important. But this right here is archaeological digs of the old city of Shiloh and the site of that first permanent, quasi-permanent structure. And so I can't tell you many specifics about this photo, but what I can point to is these ancient jugs and clearly an ancient structure, which obviously has deteriorated significantly since 3,000 plus years ago. But here we can see some of the items that they've dug up and the structure that they found. And it's always a very interesting.
When was this photograph taken?
This is in the last few years. I'm not sure exactly. It's
Really?
provided by Google, so, but
Wow.
it's, and as you can see here, they don't want people going into the dig, obviously, but it's a very important site. So they've created this shaded structure area with,
Mhm.
and then you can like read about it and listen about it. And unfortunately, not everybody has the opportunity, excuse me, to go to that site because it's present in the present day geopolitical situation. It's in a somewhat complicated zone. And so
Mhm.
many people are, unfortunately, I mean, look, this is a very important place for our Jewish heritage, but it's a kind of scary place, or not, it's not a place that everybody's comfortable going.
Mhm.
And so that is that. But let's take a look at another picture just so we can, let's see if they'll take us there. Let's go here. Let's go to another picture.
So Shiloh is on the West Bank.
Shiloh is what is described by many currently as the West Bank, yes.
But Gilgal was on the East Bank.
No, well, what happens is,
Gilgal was on the East Bank.
if you're Israeli, it's the eastern bank of the river. I'm sorry, it is west of the Jordan. It's ultimately
Gilgal?
it's the eastern part of Israel, but it's the west of the Jordan, which is why it's called the West Bank, to my knowledge.
No, but Gilgal is on the other side.
No, Gilgal is on the same. Gilgal is on the same side. I'll show. We'll go back to the map. I'll show you.
But they crossed the Jordan to get to Gilgal, which would make it east.
It is east. It's the eastern part. No, they crossed from the east towards the west. So ultimately, when you're on the west side of the Jordan, you're on the eastern part of Israel. I'll show you the map. You'll see what I mean. I just want to first take a look at this picture. This is another picture of an active site where they're currently digging, and you can see the grid-like structure. This is like the foundation of the lower parts of structures from time past. And this whole hill is what we're describing as Tel Shiloh, where this region and where these structures once existed. So that, we'll just do one more thing. We'll click here and see if they'll give us a picture here. There we go. You can see some other items.
Well, are these archaeological items here?
Yes. These are items that were found in the archaeological digs of the area. Here is a broader zoom out. You see all of this, you can see, is all an ancient structure that's being how do you call it? Being excavated. So here you see those grid-like structure. Here's walls, and you know, excavation and archaeology, especially today, where they really want to record everything, is very slow, and it's a long process.
Is this an important site for people to see when they go to Israel?
Those that are students of the Bible and know of the early development of the people of Israel, absolutely. It is absolutely an important site. However, because it's in a politically complicated area, not every group has the opportunity to actually make it there, which is why it's
so even though it's on the other side of the Jordan, the Israeli side, it's still a dangerous place to go.
Yeah, it's in the area that's controlled mostly by the Palestinian Authority, and a lot of it is out of its Jewish jurisdiction. So Shiloh, I believe, does have a degree of Jewish control, but it's in a pretty complicated area.
So it's now still mixed with Palestinians.
Yes.
That area.
Yes.
It's not totally Jewish then.
No, it isn't. Well, no, the region is not totally Jewish.
Right.
Take a look at this. This looks to me like either a millstone or something of that nature. You see there's a lot of different, very important finds. Now, the truth be told, Shiloh was probably an active place for a long time. So I'm not telling you that everything here is precisely from when Joshua arrived. Some of it may have predated Joshua. Much of it may have followed. But again, Shiloh itself was a very important Jewish center for close to 400 years. Here is a projection, not my projection, just a projection that exists at what the structure may have looked like. So they're supposing that there was all these posts that were built up, covered with wall material. I'm not telling you that's exactly what it looked like, but we get a concept. And here, this is a more modern. No, this is a more modern structure that's in that area. Yeah, that's not the tabernacle here. And this is a lookout point in that area. This is just to looking towards
the tabernacle was movable, so
Correct.
it wouldn't have been a structure of stone or cement or anything like that.
Correct. So we're not going to actually find the tabernacle. We're also going to find that there were some different events that happened to the tabernacle that caused it to move, and we'll see that in the coming books. And I know we're taking a little bit of that.
Could I ask another question?
Certainly.
You said that it was it remained in Shiloh for 369 years. Well,
Yes.
Why did they move it?
So that's going to be part of.
Did they move it to Jerusalem then?
They moved somewhere else, and then from that somewhere else, it moves to Jerusalem.
Okay.
And there were some battles that caused some problems, as we'll find out in the coming.
Okay.
So here again, we're just going through the year. This is a Byzantine water hole that they had from the Byzantine era. This is a conjecture of what the city of Shiloh might have looked like based on the archaeological digs. Oh, you see, I was right. That's an olive press. Remember that funky looking? Remember that thing?
Yeah.
So that was an olive press.
So that's where they got oil from, like olive oil?
Yes. And here is a map that actually shows something that we should, that's good for us to have. This is the division of the tribes. This is the division of the tribes in that era. And so we're talking about something right over here.
Well, I just have a question. In the ancient world, before irrigation and all of that, how did they have food to sustain them? Because it was dry. They didn't really have irrigation like they have today.
Right.
Where they could grow fruit and vegetables and all of that stuff. So how did they survive?
So Israel depended on rain. And their harvest, all of their agricultural seasons revolved around
rain. Okay.
Yeah.
So they did have plants and fruit and things like that.
Certainly.
They did have some of those things then, before
Yes.
irrigation. Okay, thank you.
And then as we prepare to leave Shiloh, and it looks like the internet already did our job for us.
Yeah.
You see, they read our minds and they know what we want. All right, let's go back to Joshua. So the whole assembly, the whole community of the Israelite people assembled at Shiloh, and they set up the tent of meeting there. The land was now under their control. The central part of Israel was now under control. Now I want to show you something. We don't usually do this, but I want to show you Rashi. Rashi is one of the famous commentaries of the Bible, Jewish commentaries. And so he explains what was this tent looking like. So he says this refers to the tent of meeting they had constructed in the wilderness. It didn't have a roof. It was a stone structure on the bottom and was covered with curtains from above. So it was partially permanent, but they used the same skins, the same materials that were the walls of the tabernacle in the construction of this new and more permanent, but not entirely permanent tabernacle. So essentially what's happening here is that a bulk of the Jews have been settled, and the center of Israel has been settled, but not the entire land. But it is time already to set up a spiritual and administrative headquarters, and it seems like it's moving from Gilgal to Shiloh, only 50 kilometers or whatever exactly, however many kilometers it would be. But
But Rabbi, people lived elsewhere too. They didn't all live there in Shiloh.
They lived all across the land, and the tribes are spreading out.
How did they then go to the tabernacle for prayer?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked.
If they lived, they weren't all in that community.
Very true.
So how did they do that?
So in biblical times, Jews didn't constantly attend the temple. Oh. Hey. Jews typically in those days would go visit the temple or the tabernacle on 3 annual pilgrimages, 3 annual trips. You want to take a guess what those 3 times might be?
Passover was one.
That's correct. Passover, the Jewish holiday of Shavuot, and the holiday of Sukkot. 3 holidays, 3 pilgrimages. The rest of the year, they were staying put. They stayed at, they stayed home, wherever it was. And so they would live wherever they lived across the land. And 3 times there were annual trips that would, that they would go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Joy, I just want to show you what I was referring, and then we got to do at least a little bit of text today. Here is the Jordan River. This is the east side of our picture, and this is the west side of our picture. So ironically, where my cursor is, well, let's zoom in just so we have. So if we're looking at Israel, this is the width of Israel. So if my cursor is here, I am on the eastern part of Israel, right?
Right.
But I'm simultaneously the west bank of the Jordan River. So the Jordan River has 2 banks, an east bank and a west bank. And so to be to the east of Israel means to be to the west bank of the Jordan. And so we refer to this area as the West Bank. And by the way, the Jews don't like calling it the West Bank. We call it by the historic name, which is Judah, Judea, and Samaria, Yehuda, and Shomron, which is a reference to the historic names that the Jewish people, when they had the kingdom of Israel or the kingdoms of Israel, that's what they call it.
So that's get very
now on in this West Bank then is where Jericho is.
Correct. There's Jericho right there.
I see. I thought it was on the other bank.
No, I understand why you thought that, because it confuses me too.
It's confusing.
It's confusing, and it's ironic that the West Bank is the east half of
Israel. In Israel. It's part of Israel.
Yes.
I always thought the West Bank was on the other side. Now, Hebron is on the other side of the Jordan, on the east side of the Jordan.
No. All of the cities of Israel are to the west of the Jordan. So
Hebron too? Hebron?
Yes. There's
and Jericho.
There's no modern day Jewish settlements or biblical on the east bank of the Jordan. Well, actually there was the 3 tribes that were there, but today none of that survives as part of what we call Israel.
So they're all on the west side of the Jordan, is that what you said?
Yes. So for example, my cursor here is right now circling over Jericho. That's the west part of the Jordan, east of Israel, but the west part of the Jordan.
So what's on the east side?
Jordan
is on the, okay.
Yes. Here's Beth El, Shiloh, the famous settlement Ariel, Nablus, which today, biblically is called Shechem. Jerusalem, Beit Shemesh, all of that is to the east of the eastern half of Israel, but the west of the Jordan.
Yeah.
Well, Beit Shemesh gets to the center. And so that's that. So I want to thank you for your indulgence, but I'm happy we cracked out our map over here. It's helpful to me, at least, to visualize how these stories unfolded and how it all took place, to actually see the place that, it happened and to visualize it on a map. To me, that's helpful. And then.
Now, do people live in Shiloh now?
Yes, so that's what I wanted to show you. Let's see if we can show you now one more thing. Here is Shiloh or Shiloh.
Shiloh.
Shiloh. Yeah. Remember I told you this is the ancient archaeological digs of Shiloh? This is the modern day city. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a city, but village or town or whatever you want to call it, small city of Shiloh, and Jews live there. And there's actually a synagogue right over there, as you see on the map. And we could actually, if the computer will cooperate, just for a moment. Let's see if the computer is going to cooperate with us. And by the way, you gotta appreciate the wonders of modern day technology, that we can literally sit here, each one of us in our own home, together stare at a screen, a map of Israel, and almost traverse that place in real time. It's a real miracle.
Can anybody go on Google Earth? Can I do that?
You could go on Google Earth. You can go, you want to look at Venice? You can go to Venice. You want to go to Japan? Oh. Absolutely. So we are, what just happened here? Well, I wanted them to take us on a street, but
you could actually go to a street on Google Earth.
Yeah, so let's.
Oh my God.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You see what they did? They zoomed, they put us real. Here we go, Shiloh.
Oh my God.
So now we're looking at Shiloh. And I want them to drop us onto a street. Let's see if they'll do. Boom. Check this out. We are now in the streets of Shiloh. Look around. It looks like a very relatively modern,
unbelievable
city. Could you imagine a kid grows up here? They're living in Shiloh, in Israel. I mean, it's the streets are a little more windy than I recall in Westport, Connecticut, but nonetheless.
Did you type in an address, a street name?
No, I did not.
To get to that, how did you get to a street in Shiloh?
So what I did is there's an option where there's like a little person that looks like a man, and you can drag it and it'll put you onto the street, and it'll show you a picture of the street. So here we're on a mountain, essentially, or on a hill. And so if you look this way, you're looking down on a little hill and there's more homes, and you're looking out at other settlements. And here, these people are built up on top of the hill.
Is this a totally Jewish settlement?
I believe so.
Shiloh? Yeah.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And look at this here. It looks like they just blasted out this area. They're going to put another home or something into the.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just a little more, and then we'll. If you want to go up the hill, let's see if they'll take us up. Oh, they took us up. That's so nice of them. Isn't this cool?
Yeah, very cool.
This actually reminds me, in a way, when I was in Safat. It has that kind of, but look at it. So now now that we drive around.
You were in Safat? Safat, I remember as having hills.
Very, very hilly. Well, that's why, in a way, it reminds me of Safat in that regard.
But the houses look very similar, like they're.
Yep, and this looks like a synagogue to me.
Really?
I don't know how we're going to get there. I guess we're not. But so there you have it. So this is the modern Shiloh.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty cool too. And we can jump off the road. Well, not jump off the road, but out of the road.
All the houses look the same. Isn't that strange?
Yeah. And here, let's just do one more thing while we're here, because we're here. And remember I told you that structure looked like a synagogue?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're now in the synagogue parking lot.
Oh my God.
And indeed, it is a shul, it is a synagogue. It looks like it's been around for a while. They could use some external repairs.
Mm-hmm.
But all told, here we have it. The Shiloh Central Synagogue. Let's try to get a peek at the front of the shul, although the way the pictures are taken, I'm not sure if they'll allow us to do that. Let's see, we'll go down the hill.
We can't go inside, right?
Isn't it? Yeah. But here, they're not letting us go. Oh, here.
Can you put an address in Google Earth and get to it like that?
I'm not certain, but I believe you might be able to. You certainly can do that.
Well, there is another, real estate people use this all the time. I don't know if it's Google Earth or Google something else, but
there's something called Google Maps, and Google Maps might allow you to put an address. It's possible here. And look, this is the closest neighbors to the shul. Their home is right behind the shul. You see that?
Maybe it's the rabbi's home.
Maybe. don't know if the rabbi is so lucky to live right next to the shul, you never know. But there you have it. Knesset HaMerkazi Shel Shiloh. This is the main synagogue of Shiloh. Let's see if there's here you go.
Oh, we're inside.
Here's a picture of the inside. Look at that nice modern podium. There's the ark. Let's see if so this building was once very modern, probably 30 years ago.
Look at this.
Isn't that pretty? Glass. Yeah. That's a menorah. This is where the Torah is placed for the Torah reading. You want to know when it was built? Let's see. This building was built see, they didn't give us the address. You know what it says? It says this synagogue was established by new builders in Israel's capital for 369 years. This is a place of Jewish prophecy and Torah transmission. This is where the tabernacle was, built by Joshua, son of Nun, who helped us inherit our land. Similarly, our temple should commemorate the wonders of the tabernacle. From the place where the priest Eli and Samuel lived, here, a new house, a new tabernacle, to remember all the glory of past. So it's a very nice and here we have a visual image of this synagogue, and they're showing us how it's meant to reflect in its style and architecture what the original tabernacle must have looked like.
What is the triangle on the top?
So the triangle is meant to commemorate the possible, the material. Remember we said that the walls were made of stone and the roof was that original material? This is probably meant to commemorate that. And so this is a very artful way of honoring the tabernacle in their with the structure of their modern synagogue. There's a lot of beauty, meaning, and thought that went into the creation of the structure. Here, of course, is a dark picture, so it's hard to appreciate it. Here are some of the stained glass windows.
Fabulous, yeah.
And these stained glass windows represent the different tribes of Israel. Here are some steps that take you up there and get you pretty tired. Some more windows and a clear window. Another view of the table. Here, this is the synagogue on the inside with a little bit of light on. You can see how there's benches with little tables, and you can kind of visualize those posts to reflect the tabernacles.
I only see men in the temple.
This picture, there's only men. It's probably a weekday service, but there should be women here as well, possibly on the far side, although I can't tell for certain. Probably the person that took the picture is a guy, so he's sitting. Let's see, here's another picture. Did we see this one already? We saw that.
Do you know what kind of temple? Is this an Orthodox temple or a?
I have a feeling that it's Orthodox.
Because.
Or traditional, I should say. And I want to just show you one more thing. This ark is where the Torahs are. It's designed to be a subtle reflection of the Ark of the Covenant. And those two little things are meant to represent the posts that were used to hold the Ark of the Covenant. And that's meant to be a little bit of a subtle hint to the cherubs on top.
But they have a menorah there.
And they have a menorah too, yes. And so there's a lot of symbolism in the synagogue, and I'm sure the architects had a lot of fun. And here's something very interesting. This is a dedication wall, but usually you see it on a solid wall, and here they've placed it on the glass. And the reason why it's interesting is because we're imagining our shul that we're going to build, God willing. I know it's been a while, but God willing, we're going to get it built. And we're talking about how there's on the ground floor, there's going to be beautiful glass panes. And we're talking about it's not going to be like this. It needs to be a little more modern and artful. But we were talking about, could you put the names of all the donors and dedications on a glass wall to create some kind of beautiful, and so it's not going to be like this, but it's good to see that others have done the same. And so let's look at a few more pictures and then we're good to go. No, that's it. All right. Folks, thank you for joining me on a tour of the Synagogue of Shiloh.
Yeah.
This is a fun tool. And certainly just go into Google and search Google Earth. And there's other things. All right, let's do a few more lines before we call it a day. So the Israelites assembled in Shiloh. They built their tabernacle. The land was now under their control, the center of Israel. But not all was rosy in paradise. There remained 7 tribes of the Israelites who had not received their portion. So it wasn't finished. The job wasn't done. So Joshua said to the Israelites, how long will you be slack about going and taking possession of the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, assigned to you? Why are you guys dragging your feet? You know what he says? We're going to make this thing move. Whoa. Why they just bounced me? They just bounced me out of here. So he says, you know what you're going to do? Appoint 3 men of every tribe, and they should all go out through the country and write down, take surveys and describe all the different regions and come back to me. We'll break up those different regions that they'll encounter into 7. Judah will remain in its previously established territory, the house of Joseph in the north. And when you've written down the descriptions of the land in 7 parts, bring it here to me. I'll cast lots for you here before the Lord our God. So basically, Judah and Joseph have land. 3 tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh have a tribe. That's 5, or really 4. And so there's 7 extra. No, yeah, it's 5. So there's 7 remaining tribes.
And then the Levites.
Because the Levites don't get a portion of the land.
Oh, right. They don't. Okay.
So then we'll divide it in 7. Judah remains, Joseph remains. When you've written it down, we'll cast lots and we'll divide it up. And Lynn, to show how wise you are, for the Levites have no sharing among you, since the priesthood of the Lord is their portion. Gad and Reuben, half the tribe of Manasseh, they have their portions that were assigned to them by Moses, the servant of the Lord, on the eastern side of the Jordan. And so the men set out on their journey. Joshua ordered the men who were leaving the land to write down a description of the land. He told them, traverse the land, describe what you see, return to me, and we'll cast lots. And so the men did. They traveled the land. They described in this document every town in 7 parts. They returned to Joshua in the camp in Shiloh. Joshua cast the lots at Shiloh before the Lord, and there Joshua divided the land among the Israelites according to their divisions. I think we should pause here. What do you think? Because here we're going to go through all the tribes. I think we'll leave that for the next unit. And I'd say that today we did a fine job. I just feel bad for everyone that wasn't here, but I think we had a beautiful overview of Shiloh, and that becomes the center of Jewish life for a very long time. And next week we'll.
Well, Rabbi, what was the political center? Because you mentioned that Shiloh was not the political center.
Well, at certain periods of time, there's another place called Mitzpeh. And Mitzpeh,
how do you spell it?
Mitzpah. Let's see if it comes up in a Google search.
So that was the political center.
Possibly. Or that was like the impromptu meeting place whenever there was big matters. So I'm not certain if this is where it was, but something in this.
It's all right if you can't find it. You had referred to it. That's why I mentioned it.
Indeed. So that's that. So, Lynn, God should give you strength to keep on being the mitzvah girl you are.
Yeah.
Joy, thank you for coming on.
And let us know how Bob is doing. I mean, we're really concerned about it.
Yeah, I'm going to go on a visit.
Maybe next week we can get a report about how he is.
God willing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi. This was very interesting today.
Thank you. I learned a lot. I learned that what the West Bank of the Jordan was. I always thought that Hebron and the other Arab cities were on the other side of the Jordan.
Right.
Now I know differently. I didn't realize that.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have
a
good
one.
Day.
Stay
well.
safe.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.